Welcome again to our accounting for funds private equity focus. And in this lecture, what I want to do is to just give us a little bit of walkthrough to the workbooks and why the way I organize the workbooks makes sense. And it's actually what uh, we use in practice, right? So let me share my screen here with you to uh, to show you what is actually happening, right? So in this workbook, you will see the cover page where I usually provide have the name of the fund and the relationship manager of that fund and their contact information. So the reporting date and fiscal year we are operating. And then, of course, my accounting firm, right? Whoever is the relationship manager, the phone number, email, and of course, we're gonna have our website there. So this nav is really easy to nav package, really easy to use and navigate. So I add a table of content, right? That just shows the overall the information you'll have access to in this nav package, right? If I go to each one of them is properly linked to facilitate navigation. So if I click here, I these should actually that's great. These should be linked to chart of accounts. Great. And here you have your chart of accounts. Of course, the normal balance. I left it empty because it's already kind of at the back of my mind. I know what the expectation should be. We have the asset type of accounts, the liabilities accounts, the equity accounts, income accounts, and expenses. And then we have the gains and losses account types, right? After that, we have the general ledger where, I showed you just a number of entries we are making throughout the course, right? So you'll remember all these and you'll see them as you move across the course, right? And then we have the general accounts balances. It's kind of your trial balance in a way. So if you look here, right, you'll see all the accounts we have in the general ledger, and at the bottom they all equal to zero, which means my accounts are flowing consistently and accurately. And you'll see the total here, and then you'll see the breakdown each month, right? A little bit of formulas there. So we didn't do anything in December, so you only see the information based on November to January accordingly. And then you have your statement of assets and liabilities. This is the final as of the end of November. You have your assets accounts, you have your liabilities accounts, and then you have your capital, members equity or member partners capital, whatever the title you want. And of course, you always want your balance sheet to tie to zero. Exactly, right? You don't want it to have any breaks there. So this is good. Our balance sheet is exactly zero. The statement of asset, statement of operations, I per month to date, I did not use it throughout the course, but usually what we see in practice in industry is you will have the month to date statement of operations, and then you'll have the statement of operation here to date, which I used throughout the course for simplicity purposes. And of course, it's always a good practice to have a reference in terms of how different parts of your accounts are flowing. For example, you know my ending capital, partner capital, should tie to my equity capital here, right? So that's really good practice, something that I do to make it easy for clients to navigate, and as well as for myself to have an idea of, okay, where things are moving and how they're impacting the financials, right? So again, we're here, you have your income, investment income accounts and their respective balances. This is, by the way, coming from the feeds. They're feeding from our general account balances, or you can call it trial balance in a way. So even the asset and liabilities account, that's really where all that is feeding from, right? From your trial balance in a way that I call the general ledger account balances. And then you have your schedule of investments, right? All the potential investments you've made throughout the life of your fund. And in our case, right, we exited this transaction. So that's why we have, yes, position exited. And this should actually be empty because we don't have anything there. But this should be no because the position is still there, right? And then I make sure to have the cost basis and the fair market value there to stay, just to show me, okay, what should be the balances of my investments, right? So this has been solved, we're exited. So again, this is a really good practice because my the value of my investment should tie to my balance sheet. That's it, right? So this hasn't been exited. So these, I should see 35 million in asset in my balance sheet. Yeah, so that should tie directly to the balance sheet. However, right, throughout the course, I didn't quite update this file because it requires a lot of linking and some work to be done there. But we have this note, the 15 million, or excuse me, the 20 million note that has been, we've been amortizing it based on the part of the note that has been paid, right? In the balance sheet, that's really this loan receivable here that is part of my investments, right? So that's one thing that I just wanted to point out. And then we have our equity tab that shows the members or partners capital, right? We're using the partners, so let's just keep it consistent. Partner capital, it should be partners capital plural. And everything ties. This is my mini reconciliation that helps me see whether or not things are correctly and are tying to the proper balances. And you have your operating schedule. This is a little bit of a mess, but I didn't quite update it throughout the life of the course because I just wanted to show you, this is one of the supporting schedules to show you, how sometime we create it, we set it up, and then the entries we make on a month-to-month basis, right? So this is really what's going on, and usually I would create some form of link to reference my balances. And then we have our capital activity schedule, right? So let me hide this tab here. It's not really serving me for anything really. So this is, the tab that again should tie to my assets and liability statement of assets and liability. We began the year with no capital, and then there was a 50 million contribution at the beginning of the quarter. And then we have our net performance. There wasn't any beginning redemption, but there was an ending redemption. As you recall, in lecture 34, we had a redemption of 25 million. And then the sum of all that provides us an ending NAV. I added, some information here, total assets. So TA stands for total assets. And then we have our return um, in the investment. So I just made an assumption on a rolling basis, right? So this is really what your total as you recall at the beginning of the lecture, we had issued only 1,000 units to partners, and then we have our NAV per unit or NAV per share, right? If you are in the mutual fund, that's really what you'd see, NAV per share. But here we're saying NAV per unit because we sold units to partners. So this is really, in summary, what you would see in a typical closed package, right? And in the next lecture that I'm gonna be adding in the course update, I'll walk you through the allocations file to also see how that rolls up. All right. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments, open to suggestions. And I'd love to help some of you if you have a fund that you need help with a fund admin or fund accountant. I'll be more than happy to provide my services. So look forward to connecting with you. Bye now.